Hello, and welcome to a Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness challenge. Now, if you've ever seen or played the game, you would know that this game mostly consists of double battles. So, can you even play this game with just a single Pokemon? And the answer is yes, there's nothing that really stops you. So, anyway, let's just go ahead and get right into it. For base stats, Poochyena has 35 HP, 55 attack, 35 defense, 30 special attack, 30 special defense, and 35 speed. It gets access to mostly normal and dark type moves, with a few other types in there as well. And back at Gadian Port, we snag our Poochyena from this lady at the top of the lighthouse. And once it is snagged, we're going to be using it for the rest of the run. Now, with all Shadow Pokemon, before you can actually start leveling it up, you have to unshadowify it, which at this point in the game has to be done at the Relic Tree. Relic Stone? Relic Stone. And unfortunately, our Poochyena just isn't cut out to actually make it there. So to make the run more interesting and not to end it on a boring note of it couldn't get past the very beginning of the game, I decided to use Eevee here to get it to the Relic Stone so it can actually start leveling up. Otherwise it's just waiting on a crit to happen, and that's not very interesting. And after this battle, we're able to get the Clone Case to finish its purification, and I decided to bring Eevee into the Egan fight to make sure it can actually get through. And here we are! Poochyena has been de-shadowified, it did. With that being said, our Poochyena has a docile nature, meaning that it gets no stat gains, which might end up hurting us later. And of course, its ability is Runaway, which in this game does basically nothing, because there are no required wild battles. It gets Dig, Heal Bell, and Poison Fang though when it purifies. And of course I'm going to teach it Bite when it gets Bite, because it's its first dark type move. I'm going to replace Howl, because Howl's not very good. And of course, as all these videos do, we move right into the Power Rangers, who were actually quite a bit of a struggle this time. But I'm not going to really go over them too much because they're not very interesting, ever. And as I normally do during this section, I'd like to just say, hey, thanks for watching the videos. If this is your first one, be sure to check out the others. There's a whole playlist of all the evolutions. On top of that, I just did a Teddiursa one that could be interesting if you like that. And if you have any Pokemon you want to see, put it down in the comments below. I wouldn't mind doing something other than a Ladybug next time. Of course, I've already probably got something picked out, and I lost to Brown. Okay, also I noticed this little thing. If you enter this building on the left, it actually resets them away from the door, so you don't actually have to fight them all. That's fun. So I went inside, did a bit of training, and realized that I can't actually beat anyone in there. So I decided to come back out and fight these guys again, where I actually end up beating my now rival, Brown, which is funny to say because Dark type should be the best against him, because it takes down his really strong Baltoy, but I just couldn't do it at an earlier level because Poochyena is not really that strong on the special side. Oh, and if you didn't know, this is Gen 3, so there is no physical special split yet, so all Dark-type moves are special in this game. So it's using its 30 base special attack instead of its 55 base attack stat. So anyway, I take down Brown, and I'm now at the level that I will start evolving. So every time I level up, I gotta make sure I'm pushing the B button to make sure I don't accidentally evolve. Now, it would be worthwhile to probably train right now, simply because I don't have enough strength to actually take down the rest of the Power Rangers, and the enemies inside are also really strong, so I decided to go to Mount Battle here and level up a few levels. And with those levels, I take down Blue, and I am level 27. Yeah, so I did a little bit of grinding. I think I also went into the building for some of these levels as well. But I'm able to take down Red, and unfortunately in this battle, I defeat the Carvana, who has the item that raises Dark-type moves. Whoops. So I'm not gonna have any attack boost on my bites. So, anyway, moving right into Loverina, who is the first boss of the game. She leads with a Love Disc and a Beautifly, and I use Bite on the Beautifly because I don't think Love Disc is going to be doing as much damage. So I Bite, and it does a little over half. I get a lucky flinch, so that's pretty good. Another Water Gun, another Bite, takes down Beautifly. Out comes the strongest Pokemon up to this point, it's Roselia. And that's just because if it can set up Leech Seed, you're basically doomed. Because it's just going to heal more than I can damage. And a lot of Pokemon have that same issue. And there's the Leech Seed. Okay, so this is more or less a dead run, but let's see how far I can get. I Poison Fang because it's a physical move, so it should be doing more damage. And it still doesn't take it out. And Pin Missile is actually super effective against Poochyena, so I go down. Not a good first attempt, but could be worse, I guess. I guess it could be worse. Here we are at level 41. Now, you might be wondering why I'm all the way up at this level for the first boss of the game, and it's because I just don't do enough damage to take down any of her Pokemon in a single hit. And I don't outspeed the Delcatty, so it does a ton of damage to me, so I decide to get the move Crunch way early. So this already took quite a few hours to get to. So she brings out the Love Disc and the Beautifly just as before, but now at level 41, Crunch is going to one-shot the Beautifly. Yeah. And then out comes Roselia, who it should one-shot as well. And because this is the first attempt, I'm not quite sure if Delcatty is actually going to go down to a Crunch. I'm hoping it does, so I use Crunch. And... oh, it's still faster than me, that's right. And it isn't quite a one-shot. Now, I could have just gotten a low roll. And I think I misclicked here, because I did actually want to take down the Delcatty. I was just pressing A. But I get rid of the Love Disc, so that could be a good thing, that could be a bad thing. Shadow Rush doesn't take me down, and I use Bite to take down Delcatty. And that's the first boss of the game. Only took 41 levels to get here. But oh look, the obligatory Mira B. Yeah, look at him go. Schmovin' on us. So, I actually forgot to record my shopping at the Real Gam Tower. I just picked up Hidden Power and Protect, and now I'm at the Agate Village Tutor Lady to replace Hidden Power with Body Slam. Because Hidden Power happened to be either Ghost or Dark, which really doesn't help Poochyena in any way, because it's already got a stronger move in Crunch. Also, while I was, you know, just doing stuff for leveling up and whatnot in Pyrite Town, I noticed that in the hotel you can get the Focus Band, which isn't a good item in any way, but it's a 10% chance that if I get knocked out, I survive. Which never actually comes into play in this run. It was just an item that I threw on because I had nothing better to put on. So anyway, I now move on to the second boss of the game, Snaddle, where I'm hoping that I do enough damage. I decide to Bite Quagsire because I don't think it's going to be a one-shot. And I'm hoping for a flinch, which I do get. I use another Bite to take down the Quagsire. And out comes Lunatone, who should be a one-shot, I think. It's just a question of, is it faster than me? So I go for Crunch, and I am faster than it. It takes it down in a single hit. And then out comes Cast Form, which I don't think is all that dangerous of a threat. So I decide to focus the Lantern, who isn't a one-shot with Crunch, unfortunately. It uses Weather Ball, doing a lot of damage with a crit. A Shockwave comes out, and I'm almost dead. Another Crunch takes down the Lantern, but I think I lose to Weather Ball. Yep. And that's the first attempt. so not so bad. So here we are 8 attempts later, and 4 levels higher. I go for Bite because I still can't one-shot the Quagsire. Another Shockwave, and unfortunately this attempt starts with a crit. I use Bite to take down the Quagsire, and then out comes the Lunatone just as before. But I know for a fact I can take it down in a single hit. Another Shockwave. I go for Crunch, and take it down. Out comes Cast Form. Another Shockwave, doing a little bit of damage, and now I'm down to half health. Now, I decide to use Dig here, because I remembered that water types are not resistant to ground. So yeah, you can actually one-shot the Lantern. I was just dumb. Weather Ball does a little bit of damage to me. And now I use Crunch into Cast Form, because Metang, despite being pretty scary, isn't all that threatening with Metal Claw. Yeah, it's not doing too much. I go for Dig because I also remember that Metang doesn't have Levitate. But it's still not quite a one-shot, but it misses with Metal Claw and I'm able to take it down. So 9 attempts isn't so bad for Snaddle. And of course aboard the SSN I pick up the Leftovers item, and I'll be using this for the rest of the run, simply because it's basically the best item you can get to a single Pokemon. Oh, and hey, that's weird, I thought we already had a MRB segment. Hey MRB, how you doing? Oh, bye I guess. Anyway, we move on to the battle with Gonsap, who will always use Fake Out on the first turn. And Electrode will either go for Sonic Boom or Spark. Unfortunately, this time it goes for Spark and I get paralyzed. So that's already off to a bad start. Hyper Beam misses, luckily. I use Dig, another Spark, another Hyper Beam, and I'm able to take down the Electrode in a single hit. But unfortunately I am paralyzed, so I'm not sure how much longer I can keep this up. I go for Crunch on the Vileplume, and that Hyper Beam does a lot from the Nuzleaf, and that Vileplume takes me down. Okay, so here's where I make either the best decision or the worst decision, and that's getting rid of Dig for Protect. And it's because if I can avoid all the possibility of getting paralyzed on the first turn, I should take it, because Fake Out is going to stop Dig, but it won't stop Protect. And I could get rid of Bite, but having the ability to flinch is just too valuable, I think. So I get rid of Dig. And we go into the battle. And just as I said, I go for Protect to block the Fake Out and the Spark, so now I don't get paralyzed turn 1. And now Crunch has Stab, so it's basically 120 base power. But also Body Slam has my higher attack stat. I decided to go for Crunch, and as you can see, it wasn't a one-shot. So here I am a couple of attempts later, using the same strategy, but also a few levels higher, where I actually am able to defeat Electrode in a single Crunch. Just like that. So this is my winning one. So Nuzleaf misses, which is very helpful. I go for Bite because I can't actually beat the Vileplume in a single hit. Hyper Beam hits this time, doing a little chunk of damage. Now unfortunately I don't get a flinch, but it misses Sleep Powder, which is really nice. Otherwise I think it would have been an easy loss. Whiscash comes out. I go for Bite because I can't one-shot Whiscash either. Another Hyper Beam hits, and Whiscash hits a Rock Tomb, lowering my speed, which shouldn't make an impact on this battle, I don't think. I use Bite to take it down, and then out comes the Skarmory, which isn't really all that threatening. It's just, it takes a few hits to actually take down, so I decided to get rid of the Nuzleaf. And it should just be a one-shot, which it is. Okay. And now it's just beating up the Skarmory, so I go for Crunch, and it does half. And with a special defense drop, it's guaranteed that I'm able to take it down. It does actually miss the Hyper Beam, which is nice, but it wouldn't have been able to one-shot me anyway. And that's Gonzap. Now, whenever I do these runs, I usually pick up the move Protect, and it's usually just for this fight in particular, and his rematch later, because being able to work in the same rhythms as him to avoid Earthquakes is really nice. Now here, I tried to flinch the Celio first turn, which didn't end up working, so it actually got an Earthquake off. And I'm actually doing half Laron's health with a Bite, which seems to be going pretty good. I decide to take down the Celio now, because it's just going to use Earthquake again. And then out comes the Slowking, which is, I believe, part Psychic type, so I should be able to one-shot it. I decide to go for Bite on Laron, actually get a crit, but it wasn't useful here. Out comes Ursaring, who I don't think I can one-shot, and unfortunately I get confused here. But I decide to protect. I cannot protect. So I get hit with an Earthquake from Slowking, which isn't really that bad. And now I'm deciding if I want to crunch the Slowking or bite the Ursaring. I decide to bite the Ursaring, hoping for a flinch. And unfortunately I don't get it, and Brick Break takes me down in a single hit. So here I am a few levels higher, and 5 attempts later. Because in order to actually redo this fight, you have to climb the entire pyramid, so it's really annoying to get to. Anyway, so I go for Bite on the Celio, hoping for a flinch, just as I did before. I don't get it, so I bite the Laron to hopefully flinch it. Celio uses Aurora Beam, which does have a chance to lower my attack, which is something that happened. I go for Protect to survive the Earthquake. But it doesn't even use Earthquake, it uses Aurora Beam. So I go for Bite to take down the Laron. And the reason I do this is because I'd rather take the hits from the Celio rather than the Slowking, because Slowking has Water Pulse, which has a chance to confuse me, which is basically a death sentence if I get unlucky. So once again, out comes the Ursaring. I'm once again hoping for a flinch. If I can get it, I can survive. I protect here, though, because it's the Earthquake turn. But I go for Bite, and it's still doing about half. Unfortunately, I don't get it. Brick Break is still doing a ton of damage, and the Aurora Beams are chipping away very slowly. Go for another Protect, because Earthquake's coming out. And now I'm able to take down the Ursaring. And then out comes his first Shadow Pokemon. It is a Primeape, which is a very strong Fighting type. Now luckily it doesn't have Fighting type moves, it only uses Shadow type moves, which are always super effective, so it's basically the same thing. I go for Protect, hoping that Celio uses Earthquake, but it doesn't. And now I go for Body Slam, doing not enough damage, but I am faster than it. In previous attempts, I was not faster than the Primeape, and I died because of it. So I go for Protect again, this time just to get a bit more health, so I can survive an Aurora Beam. I go for Bite on the Primeape to actually take it down. And then out comes the Hypno, his second Shadow Pokemon. Now this one, I think I can one-shot it, but I haven't actually gotten this far before. So I am a bit worried. So I go for a Protect to survive the oncoming Aurora Beam. And go for Crunch, and cross my fingers. And it is a one-shot, so that's really helpful. Out comes an Aurora Beam, but it's not enough to take me down, and at this point I can take down the Celio with ease. So, that was Gorgon. Only 6 attempts, so not too bad. So I am playing at 2x speed, so my timer says I'm at 7 hours and 37 minutes going to Citadel Isle. And I'm not looking forward to this at all, because Poochyena I don't think is going to do well. I didn't even think he was going to get this far. But hopefully it does a decent job getting through. Anyway, the first fight at Citadel Isle is the Laverina rematch. So I go for Crunch on the Gorbis, which is a one-shot, that's very nice. And out comes Roselia, who I once again need to take out, but it's not nearly as big a threat as it used to be. But you still really don't want to get leech seeded. A crit, meaning that my Poochyena really wanted it gone, which is nice. Out comes Farfetch'd, who does have a move that can confuse you, so I really don't want to keep it around. Fortunately, a crit with the Ice Punch. I go for Protect, just to heal a bit, because I know Altaria might be a bit of a threat. A Crunch is able to take down the Farfetch'd. Out comes Altaria, who is her second Shadow Pokemon. Another Ice Punch. And I go for Crunch. No, I go for Protect to get a bit more health. Now I go for Crunch. And I decide to get rid of Gardevoir because I really don't want to get frozen. Shadow Break does a little bit of damage, about a quarter. So I can definitely survive a few of those. I decide to go for Bite here, hoping for a flinch, which I do get, and now a Crunch should be able to take it down. And that's Laverina first try. And after the trouble she put me through the first time, I think it's well deserved. And during these videos, I like to spotlight a trainer that gave me a tough time. And guess who it is again? So if you saw the Eevee video, which you could go back and watch, I guess, Colist here was its main antagonist. And that's just because his team is very tanky and can spread a lot of statuses, and is just generally annoying to actually take down, because this camera up here can raise its special defense, the muck there can poison you, the coughing can poison you, it can also burn you, its Rapidash comes out, and that thing sets up Shadow Sky on the first turn, is really fast, so usually it outspeeds you, which it does in Poochyena's case because it's only got 35 base speed. And its Macargo, or his Macargo, is just really tanky if you're using a physical attacker. Has Flame Body, so if you hit it, you might just burn yourself, so you're doing less damage, or taking damage. And it's just a generally difficult fight for any Pokemon that just isn't all that either strong or tanky. So out comes the Macargo. And it's a Shadow Pokemon as well, so all of its moves are doing a ton of damage. I will say the camera up does maybe help, because it uses Sunny Day to get rid of the Shadow Sky, which can come in handy, but it still doesn't make it easier, because then the camera up is doing more damage. And this Crunch here doesn't even one-shot. So yeah, this battle took quite a few tries. And that's Colist. And as you might have surmised, I am just not ready for this place yet. I decide to go to Mount Battle. I'm now at floor 71 to just get some more levels. And I'm at level 83. So I'm going to train a bit and then come back, hopefully do a bit better in those last sections of the area and get to Snaddle. So here I am at Snaddle. I am a few levels higher than I was. I'm at level 86 now. I go for Crunch, hoping that it one-shots Quagsire, which it does. That's very nice. And then out comes Scizor, which I think is going to be quite a threat to us. Now, in hindsight, maybe I should have gone back and taught Dig to actually take it down, but I didn't think about that at the time. Anyway, I use Bite, don't get a flinch, I use a Silver Wind doing almost half of my health. A Metal Claw comes out, doing a bit more. I decide to protect here to hopefully survive another Razor Silverwind, or just stall out of all 5 PP it's got. I go for a bite, hoping for a flinch, and I don't get it. And Silverwind gets a crit and takes me down. Okay, well, you know, a bit unlucky for a first attempt. Luckily, this one isn't really all that hard a fight, it just kind of takes a while to get back to. So only a level higher, I actually can beat him. I go for Crunch. I get a crit, which isn't necessary, but it's good to know that my Poochyena is really feeling good about this fight. I go for Protect to heal up the damage I've just taken, though, and to waste one of the PP of the Silverwinds. I go for Bite on the Scizor, hoping for a flinch, just as I did before. But I don't get it, so yeah, there goes a solid chunk of my health, and Metal Claw takes me down to half. I go for Protect again to heal off some of that damage. Another Silverwind, another Metal Claw. I go for Bite on the Scizor once again. And actually get a flinch this time, which is huge, and a miss from Metal Claw, which is really nice. I decide to Protect again to get a bit more health, because I know for a fact I'm going to be outsped by a Starmie at the very end. So I go for Bite to take down the Scizor. And out comes Solrock, who should be a one-shot with Crunch. Metal Claw hits, no attack boost though. I go for Crunch to take down the Solrock. And then out comes his Cast Form again. Another Metal Claw. And now I have to decide whether or not I want to take down the Cast Form or the Metang. Both really aren't that threatening, so I decide to just go after the Cast Form. But either way I think would have been fine. And then out comes Starmie, who 100% outspeeds me. It's going to use Shadow Storm, doing hopefully not too much damage, but I think it's going to do a ton. So I decide to heal up a bit. And I'm at 132, and after it hits me, I'm down to 63. So it did about half my health, or half of what I had left. I'm able to take it down in a single hit though. Another Metal Claw isn't enough to finish me off, and now I think I can just Crunch to take it down. And that's Snaddle. So on to the final 4 bosses. Now, Ardos is usually, in my estimation, the 3rd hardest on average, unless you're using a special attacker that's really slow. Poochyena, because its only good physical attack is Body Slam. This fight isn't really too bad. It's just you have the Snorlax at the end and the Swellow who usually outspeeds you. And yeah, the Swellow absolutely outspeeds me. I did use Protect on the first turn, expecting a Shadow Half. It didn't do it. It used Shadow Sky, and it will proceed to always use Shadow Skies, so I decide to just attack it on the first turn to take it down immediately. Every time after this. Anyway, so now I'm with the Kingdra and the Alakazam. The Alakazam is just going to throw out Ice Punches, which isn't great because it does have a chance to freeze. And the Kingdra has Hydro Pump, which has a 20% chance to miss. In all my time playing this game, I have not seen it miss. I've only ever flinched it to make it miss. And following how it's always been, it hits. Now, even if I do take down the Kingdra, out comes Heracross, a bug fighting type. So the only move I can really use to do damage to it is Body Slam. And unfortunately, it's got Brick Break. So if I don't take it down in a single hit, I go down. So I decide to Bite to hopefully flinch it, which Bite is doing minuscule damage, and I get taken down. So I did what I think had to be done at some point, and just got it out of the way now. I got to level 100 to try and take him down. because if I can survive a few more, or take hits better, and actually take down his Pokemon in fewer turns, I think this is doable. So, here we are, level 100. Let's give this a first attempt. I am at 105 speed, and I still do not outspeed the Swallow. I think in my notes I put down somewhere around 105 as a speed tie, so I might have just lost the speed tie. But who knows. Anyway, out comes his Kingdra after taking down the Swallow. I decide to protect, just as I did before, just to heal up, or not heal up, to stall out the turns of the Fruity Pebbles. Because it's not really helpful to have them around for longer. Another Ice Punch doing way less damage than it did before. Body Slam's able to take down Kingdra. And then out comes Heracross. Now, I should be able to one-shot it now. Hopefully. The Fruity Pebbles rain from the sky, doing damage to all. I go for Protect this turn just to hopefully shave off another time on that, because it should only last for 5 turns. So I should be healing next turn. Heracross takes a little bit of damage, which might actually be important. I go for Body Slam. Another Ice Punch with no freeze. And take it down in a single hit. That's good. Out comes Electabuzz. Now this thing's a bit scary because it has the static ability, so if I hit it, there's a chance I might just get paralyzed. So I go for Protect to get a little bit more health, and it decides to go for Shadow Half. Which means that I can probably now one-shot it. So I decide to do just that. I take it down. Another Ice Punch doing little damage. Take down the Electabuzz. And then out comes the big bad Snorlax. Now this thing does a ton of damage, can take a lot of hits on the special side, and it has the leftovers items, so it's going to constantly be healing. So I decide to protect the first turn to get a bit more health. I go for Body Slam because it's less physically defensive. Use a Shadow End, but misses, luckily. And I think at this point, it's basically guaranteed, as long as I don't get frozen, to win. Body Slam takes it down. And another Body Slam should take down the Alakazam. So it took quite a few attempts, but not so bad. I've had worse. So that moves us right along into Gorgon, who is the Earthquake guy. I decide to go for Protect first turn, which I should, because Ursaring's going to use Protect and Slowking's going to use Earthquake. Then I go for Crunch on the Body Slam on the Ursaring to see if it's a one-shot. It is. So that's pretty good. I don't have to worry about the Ursaring. And out comes Aggron, quite possibly scariest Pokemon. Just because it's so physically tanky that I can't really hit it with a Body Slam. But also, Bite isn't very effective against it, so it's not very good. But I am going to have to Bite just to hopefully flinch. And it actually does over half. So as long as I actually do get a flinch, which I don't, Iron Tail isn't really doing that much damage. Ice Beam's not really doing that much damage. So this is going fairly well. I decide to go for Protect, because it's going to use Protect. Another Earthquake. I heal a bit. I'm doing pretty decent on the health side. I take down the Aggron. And then out comes Walrein, which is a very defensive Pokemon. So it's going to take a few turns to take down. I decide to try to take it down first though, because Slowking really isn't a threat. Its Ice Beams just aren't as strong as Walrein's. So, after taking a couple, yeah, it's not so bad. I decide to Protect, in case they decide to use Earthquake, which they don't. I use a Body Slam to take down Walrein. And then out comes his first Shadow Pokemon. It is a Poliwrath. It's part Fighting type, so my Dark type moves aren't going to be doing as much damage to him. so I do have to go for Body Slam. But I decide to bite first, hopefully to flinch. I don't get the flinch, it uses Shadow Sky, and so I'm not going to be healing anymore. Fruity Pebbles Rain, and I decide to go for Body Slam, and it's not quite enough to take it down. I do get a paralysis, but it doesn't work. Shadow Storm comes out, taking me down to 20, and Ice Beam finishes me off. So, not so bad for a first attempt, I guess. I've decided to speed this footage up because honestly, this is one of my more disgusting battles I've done, simply by how bad I performed. So I immediately decide to Body Slam into a Protect, and then I bite into a Protect. So I've eaten both Earthquakes from the Slowking, just because, and then I decide to Protect out of order, just to get a little bit more health, and now I have to take down the Slowking with a Crunch, because I've put myself out of order. Now I have the stronger Walrein to contend with. I decide to bite the Walrein. It luckily flinches, but I get hit with an Iron Tail. I go for Bite to take it down. And now we're back on track. Just the start of that was very messy. So I go for Body Slam, it does about half, Shadow Sky comes out, Aggron hits an Iron Tail, which isn't doing that much damage, so I'm just going to leave it around because it does have a fairly bad hit chance. I take down the Poliwrath, out comes the Mr. Mime, who should be a one-shot with Crunch. I decide to Protect just to stall out a turn of Fruity Pebbles. Go for Crunch, take down the Mr. Mime in a single hit, and then it's just me and the Aggron, which isn't great, but it's fine, I guess, as long as I can actually take it down. A Bite actually flinches it, and I'm able to take him down. A bit messy, but third attempt isn't too bad. So we move on to Eldis, who leads with a Manectric and a Ninjask. The Ninjask is basically always going to outspeed me, and the Manectric has the static ability, so it's going to paralyze if I hit it sometimes, and that was a lot of damage. That was a lot of damage. Okay, I take down the Ninjask. Out comes the Salamence. Manectric uses Shadow Sky, so now I'm not healing. Okay. I decide to test how much damage I'm going to do. Shadow Rush does quite a lot of damage. I use Body Slam. I get a crit, so that's quite nice. I'm not sure if that would have one-shot, though. Out comes the Flygon. Manectric misses with Shadow End, which is also really good. But I'm sitting pretty low on health. I decide to Protect to stall out one more turn of it, of the Fruity Pebbles. So hopefully I can start healing soon. I go for Crunch to take down the Manectric, and it does. And then out comes Marowak, who isn't all that specially defensive, so I think I should be able to take it down with just a single Crunch. Ooh, but that double edge nearly takes me down. And I get Fruity Pebbled. Okay, well that's not great. So I jump right back into it because I'm at level 100 at this point. There's no leveling up past any problem. I'm just kind of stuck here with them. So I decide to go for Crunch again on Ninjask. It uses Silver Wind, still doing quite a lot of damage. And it doesn't have a miss chance either, so that's unfortunate. I will always take that damage. And out comes Salamence once again. I'll actually be able to see this time if I'm able to take it down with a single hit. So I decide to Body Slam. Shadow Rush does about a quarter. And that wasn't even half. And Shadow End takes me down very low. And there's nothing I can really do. And here's the thing, I could keep attempting this over and over and over again. But, I think this is the end. I would need to get some incredible luck to actually take him down. I would have to have the Manectric miss all of its shadow ends. I would have to have the Salamence get crit. I'd have to have the Marowak probably be able to be taken down. It might actually go down in a single crunch, but even still, that just brings out Lapras, who I know for a fact isn't going down in a single hit, and is going to be hitting me with Shadow Storms and Shadow Skies. And then there's the Flygon that's going to be attacking me, and I don't think Poochyena has it in it, unless I get incredibly lucky and can one-shot everything with a crit and actually get by. And you can see at this point, I'm just kind of sitting here on this screen thinking, there's no way. Because I don't think he can do it. Even if Poochyena did make it past this point, it has to go up against Greevil, who has even stronger Pokemon. It's got the 3 legendary birds that are all spamming shadow moves, that are all capable of spreading status, plus a Rhydon, which is going to hit incredibly hard, an Executor, who isn't really that big a threat, and then a Tauros, which is always going to set up Shadow Sky. So I think for this run in particular, I'm just gonna have to call it here, I think. I would have liked to see Poochyena go further, but I'm already 22.5 hours in, and I just don't think I'm gonna go much further than this. Currently I'm at 76 losses throughout the game, which is the worst any Pokemon's had other than maybe Eevee. But even still, Eevee made it to the final boss. It had some trouble with this fight, but it wasn't nearly as bad. And I'm just too slow. 35 base speed means that I am basically never outrunning anything in this fight, or any of the other fights coming up, other than maybe the Executor. So with that being said, I think I'm going to award Poochyena with our first F tier, because I don't think it can make it through this game alone. I would have liked to see it go a bit further, but I just don't think it has it in it, especially with such terrible stats. Maybe in a singles-only game it would be better, because at least then it's not taking oncoming attacks, as long as it can actually take them down in a single hit. But in a doubles game, you're constantly taking hits all the time, and Poochyena just doesn't have the bulk to actually do it. So, with that being said, thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, like it. If you didn't, I don't know, maybe subscribe if you're feeling up to it. Bye.